meeting until the 2nd of April 2024. We have got no apologies hands today, which is wonderful. And first up, we've got a public forum and Eve O'Brien from the Central Otago Friendship Network. Welcome, Eve.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today. I'm just going to quickly chat to you about a project that we're applying for funding for. So the Central Otago Friendship Network is a small community organisation that's been operating in the Alexandria and wider Central Otago area for over 30 years. And our mission is to enrich people's lives by establishing and supporting a friendship network with a focus on those who are socially isolated and at risk. And we do that through 3 services: facilitated social activities, individual friendship support, and our one-to-one friendship service, which is kind of like a buddy program for people that might be isolated. And I guess I should also mention we have like over 70 members involved in our service and 30 volunteers who help deliver our service. And those members age from about 5 to 90 plus, so there's school, facilitated social groups, as well as those old people and everybody in between. Our members could be people experiencing isolation due to disability or age-related conditions or mental health, or just changing life circumstances. Some of the people that have maybe lost a partner, or their life, path has changed and they find themselves being isolated and needing a bit of support to connect socially with other people. So yeah, that's a little bit of background about who we are and what we do. And this project that we're applying for funding for is what we call our Monday social space. And it was started as just a small group social interaction setting, particularly targeted at those people who have hearing loss, which makes it difficult for them to connect in larger group settings. And we started this initiative as a trial late last year in response to some of our individual members and people in our groups saying that one of the biggest barriers for them to connect was that a lot of the social opportunities out there have a lot of background noise, or have so many people in it that if people have trouble hearing, then they can't even talk to somebody else in the group. So yeah, we decided that that was a gap in the social opportunities out there for people, and so we started a small group that people can come along to, just drop in on a Monday fortnightly, have a cup of tea, have a chat, have a bit of afternoon tea from 2 to 3 p.m. and just connect with other people who maybe experience similar challenges. And it's been really successful so far. I know I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I thought I'll just read a couple of the feedback from a couple of our members. This is in their words. It's just the quietness for us deaf people. I've only really got hearing in one ear, and even then it's not very good. If it's too difficult to hear in areas with background noise, then I just can't be part of conversations. That's from Shirley. And another lady called Wendy says, due to my problem of understanding people's speech, Monday social space in a small surrounding is my only social outing all week and is really important to me. Just meeting with people and socialising. Yeah, that's, I guess, our project, and what we're looking for funding for is actually just to rent a room for a year as we try and extend the trial and make it a bit more advertisable to other people. If it was in a regular place each week, if that's a quiet space, then yeah, that would make it really sustainable, I think. Does anyone have any questions?
Thanks so much, Eve. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have one. How are you going to extend that out to a wider audience, so that you can get more people into that?
We are really connected with through the Central Otago with other community organisations. Like I work with Alzheimer's Otago and Age Concern and lots of other similar agencies, based out of Community House and the ACOS, Alexandria Council of Social Services meeting. So we advertise our services through those and through our networks. We get referrals, and I've actually had somebody who's coming along to our group because of the public holiday we're meeting today, Monday social space, and we've got somebody that was referred last week, even through our Facebook page, who's coming along to join. So kind of a mix of social media and connections in the community. And being in a regular space would help, because then we'll be able to say, like, actually each week we are going to be there rather than swapping around a little bit at the moment, like we are.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming along to speak to others. Right. No other public forum, so we move along please to the confirmation of the minutes from our PCB meeting on the 7th of February 2024, which you'll find on page 5. If somebody is happy to move those minutes, thank you Tracy, seconded, thank you Tony. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Declarations of interest on from page 10. Just a reminder to regularly check those and let Sarah know if there are any amendments to be made from you or your spouse's interests. And then we move to our first item on the agenda, which is the community grants applications. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you. So this is the second round of the community grant applications for the 23-24 financial year. Normally these would come to your next meeting, but I'm away. And the number meant that I was able to assess them in time to get them through the process for today's meeting, so that was really good. The round closed on the 10th of March, and we had $26,790 left to distribute. During that period, we received 2 applications, and then a late application came in on the 21st, which we also managed to assess and get to this agenda. So thank you for accepting that late paper, and in fact, it's one of the resolutions. It's the next paper after this. So of the 2 applications that we received, you've heard from Eve, and the Rotary Club have withdrawn their application. There's had a change in the organisers of the bookshop, and those organisers decided that they didn't need to come because it's a community board. So that just leaves for this paper for the first. Sorry, we've got to do it in 2 resolutions. But the first resolution is from the Friendship Group. The second resolution is from the Alexandria Advice Network, and as I said, they were late, but we managed to get them through the process. Now, in terms of we advertised on social media channels and in our notice board. We've also held funding clinics in Alexandria and Cromwell. Those both were very well attended. And the funding clinics are a joint venture held with the Otago Community Trust, the Central Lakes Trust, usually the Aotearoa Gaming Trust, and often DIA, Department of Internal Affairs, are there as well. And so they're a really good opportunity for people to understand what's happening in the community and what grants that they can apply for. I did have a conversation with an Alexandria-based community group last week. They weren't clear that they could apply for operational funding through Vincent, and so they're going to apply for the next round, and so we'll make sure that's communicated well as well, the type of things. We might give a few examples about things that were funded in the past. But that's all I have to say, unless there's any questions.
Cool. Thanks, Rebecca. Any questions, Jay?
So I was just looking at their request, and they've asked for 420 based on the cost being $20 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But with the fees potentially going up,
Mm-hmm.
is there any way to adjust that? Because I know it's not a lot of money, but they don't have a big budget.
Yeah, I know. It is very difficult to provide a grant for more than what's been requested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, not impossible. I like that.
I guess, is it possible to make if there was an increase, we could make it subject to any increase that would directly pass to them? I think you could suggest that if the increase affects the Friendship Trust, that they've been encouraged to reapply in this next round.
Okay.
I think it would probably be the best. It's a bit of a bureaucratic thing, but I just think it protects you going forward, really.
Okay.
And now that there's an application in the system, the next one is not very hard at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you.
I'll move the recommendations.
I can second that.
Yeah, so just that. Yeah, so they're reflected. We do need a note of the Rotary Club.
Yeah.
Perfect. So the recommendations were: receives the report and accepts the level of significance. B currently reads, decides the grants to be allocated. So what we need to do is actually decide the grant. So Sarah has got up there notes that the Rotary Club have withdrawn their application.
And then
Since the,
decides the grants will come out and allocates
and that would make that big.
to $420 to the Central Otago Friendship Network for the venue hire.
Moved.
Second.
Have you read those amendments? Great, thank you, move Martin. And then Jaden. Sarah Kitcher. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much, Eve. Thank you very much. We then move to the late report, which is a separate, separate report in your agenda.
So yeah, it came in, but because it's an application that we've had in the past, it was quite easy to achieve and get in the papers in time for it to be considered today. So thank you for that. And in fact, what it has triggered for me is I've now sent emails to all previous funders, grant recipients, to ensure that they get their accountabilities in time before the next funding round, and that gives them a heads up that that funding round is coming up as well. So it was a good little reminder. So yeah, we have funded this for the Vincent Community Board has funded this for a very long time. They've provided excellent service to our community, and I recommend that the grant be granted.
Any questions on that one?
Just a general question. What happens to any funding which is not distributed in this current financial year? Is it just?
Oh,
That next.
Yes.
yeah. Can I just clarify one thing? This application came in for $1,000 less than it normally is. And I went back and said, is this a typo? But it is not. It's a deliberate move on behalf because of other funding that they've received, and because it was the network wanting to show their understanding of the current situation facing both. So that I thought was, we did go back and just double check that the amount was correct on this one. And just in response to yours, the unspent fund go into the general reserve, and so promotions grants, if there were left over in that, goes into a special promotions pot. This goes into the general reserves. However, it's not, if you had a high grants year, you could make a case, and we have in the past for ADMI, we've said, look, if you fund us out of the current financial, for the hardship grant, when we're trying to align the timings, we said if you take this out of this pot, it diminishes what you'll be able to fund. We suggest that you put a recommendation to council to use reserves, and that was accepted. And so if there is a time in the future where there is a lot of community activity taking place and a high demand on the, it's not an absolute no to spend that reserve. And we've checked with finance, you'll see, because as the financial report in today's papers, you'll see that the general reserve fund has got a positive balance, so that means it can be used. If it was deficit, then it would potentially be lost to grants, but not in this case.
Given, obviously there was some uncertainty around what was funded, what can be funded from this, and you've sent out some emails indicating to people what they could apply for. Is there a way for it to be ring-fenced going forward and included in the next round?
No, except through grants, unless there was in high demand and the board wanted to make that case too. So it can't be ring-fenced specifically for grants, because there might be another activity that the board wants to fund, and you would equally make a similar case for that activity. But it is there if there is that community demand for an increased grant.
Any questions? Comments on that? In that case, the recommendation is A, B and C. And C will allocate $3,000 to Alexandra Community Advice Network contribution towards ongoing operational costs. Approve it. Thank you, Tracy.
And B will accepts the late.
Accept, yes. You move Tracy, seconded Di. All those in favour? Against? Thank you, Rebecca, and thank you for making it happen. Right. Moving on to item 24.3.3, which is on page 17, proposed disc golf. Okay.
This is just an information report on both this golf course at the half mile. That Sport and Target have been working with the community for some time to look for a site because I think it was initiated through the high school. Really, they wanted somebody to play disc golf because disc golf is very popular around the country and people make them a destination. It's a sort of a destination sport now, and people have, I think it's also the tournaments you can almost make some money if you're a good player. But so they've looked at the half mile's been a great site to showcase Alexandria and Central Otago as a site for a course, and they've got some funding from Sport New Zealand to contribute towards that, and looking at how they can fund the balance of the 9 holes. And I was hoping to I'd actually be here. That's a long weekend, so I can't give you too much more detail, except I know they're getting a course designer here this week, have a look around and just finalise what might be happening there. And I guess just wider on the half mile, so we're looking to do some minor route raking, or I guess you call it, clearing up the slash on above the highway side, so the highway trust can get better access into there to do the initial plantings, which will happen probably later, really winter, moisture, we get a bit more moisture around. And we're also looking at, we have identified some sites within the wider reserve where we will get some pricing for fences for rabbits mainly, so they can start the initial 5-year planting program as well. So that'll kick off over the next little while. And this golf course has been provided with where those plantings will be, so there'll be go rounds, I guess, a bit more difficult once that's designed so they don't clash. So happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, who will cover the costs of maintenance of the disc course?
Because there's minimal maintenance on a disc golf course because you have a disc tee and then you have I guess the hole. Basket, yeah. I'm trying to think of the name. Yeah. So that they last for quite some time. I assume the council would be donated back to the council as most recreational activities are. And we would maintain that because we are maintaining the wider, I guess that the wider reserve outside the planting areas. Yeah,
Sure.
As time goes on, so that'll be mainly noxious weeds and things that are growing there. Pretty lot of briar starting to come away at the moment, and of course there will be a carpet of pine seedlings at some point. I expect that we'll deal with. But we've focused that through on there's money for that in the next year's budget, or the next couple of years budget for maintenance up here.
Have you played a Cromwell project, the disc golf up at Cromwell? There's a 9-hole up there just behind the swimming pool. Yeah, we wanted to get a bit of a taste of what it looks like. Take your disc.
Yeah. Jason, I guess not being familiar with this health, is there any risk that it's going to, by having an 18-hole course up there, and I actually don't know really what 9, but the intention is for an 18-hole.
Yeah, over time, that's right.
Yeah, over time. Is that going to impact on the other part of the community's enjoyment of the space, or is there any health and safety issues with this being thrown around? I just don't know the answers to those questions.
I think through the chair, most disc golfs are through recreational reserve land. You know, if you look at Queenstown, there's one through the gardens, and there's one through Pembroke Park and one at Edie Point. I think the one in Pickbo is on waterfront.
Yeah.
So they're all within mixed-use areas as well. So it's just the way they are. They're not isolated. Part of it. And there's not people. I guess I shouldn't say that. There are people most of the time, but the activities, different activities, can coexist.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can put up signage and things, you know, if it crosses just the going from one T to another, that's, you know.
Oh, I think-
fine, just,
Don't get me wrong, I think it's a fabulous idea, absolutely fabulous idea, but I just so I can get it clear in my head.
I'll talk to Leslie out and.
I might need some.
Do you anticipate or have you had any discussions with NCTA in case any I'm presuming you will be aiming away from the run?
I think we'll be well over the brow of the hill.
So there's no issues there.
Just what I, and access to the off Aaron Louis roads.
Oh, okay.
Rather than
Yeah,
the hill will have a track up.
even if it's 18 holes, it will still be.
Yeah, and I'll put a kid down where that sort of standing in this corner. Sounds good.
What sort of an area are you including kind of for the activity? Is it 80%, 60%, half mile?
Well, it's just like a golf course, I guess. It's just fairways in between, or around obstacles.
Yeah,
So I'm not sure until the designers had a bit of a brief look, and then we'll refine that to make sure there's the activities within a, you know, not everywhere. So if there are other activities that happen there, that likely to be ones we don't know of happening in the past, in the future as well. So it's just a bit of a process we need to move through yet.
I think the course itself is a lot shorter than a golf course.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's only as far as you can throw.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times.
Do you want to put it up at the golf course?
We've actually, I wanted to have a tournament there a year or so ago in that, but we just didn't have a day that we could make it work, so it's quite popular. I'm all for it. It's just, it'd be great to see it playing.
Yeah. And we can bring next time, we'll send it back now, anyway.
Great, thanks. Good.
If this is really popular, is there a plan for better car parking in that area?
Yeah, I was just saying, so we're looking at access off Aranui Road and the car park area up there. That's what will be part of the plan through the after July, so we're just trying to tie up in at once. So we need to walk up, like we park off Aranui Road.
When do you anticipate seeing the plan?
Well, I think the designer was initially coming this week, so we should see something in the next couple of weeks once we've had a look.
Anybody got any other questions or comments? No, okay, so the recommendation is just that the report be received. Thank you, Tracy. Seconded Di. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much, Gordy. Item 24.3.4, page 19, looking about the Molyneux Stadium. Thank you.
I'll take the report as read. Just a quick summary. We've just recently had a full building condition assessment and fire report accessibility report done for the stadium. We've previously had a DSA done, which was estimated at 1.38 million a few years ago. There's quite a lot of work going to be done, and the proposal is to get now an estimate for the quantity surveyor, which assesses what all of that work is going to cost. That we estimate that might be $20,000. There is a current budget available to pay for that. Any questions? Thank you.
Would it be possible for us to get a copy of that WSP report?
What was that, sorry?
Would it be possible for us to get a copy of that WSP report to see what work it is that needs doing to bring it?
Yep, it's very large, like there's about 40 pages of pictures and assessments and things like that. So I'm not quite sure, we certainly couldn't email it. But yeah, we can probably arrange that.
Have a copy, so you can peruse it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Questions?
Yeah, I guess, and this will come, I guess, in the fullness of time, but with the asbestos, is there a council ruling, I guess, or rule that if there is asbestos present? I mean, my understanding is that you only deal with it if you have to, rather than going in and deliberately trying to remove things. Is that?
Yeah.
So the works that potentially could come, that triggers, that's when we need to deal with the asbestos.
Yes, so.
Yeah, and that would happen if we went ahead with the earthquake strengthening. And also the external and internal panels, some of them were quite damaged. So we would have to replace them in the near future.
Yes.
And so they have got asbestos.
I guess this is the next step in the process for what happens with that.
Yeah, and
is understanding the cost.
That's right. And if we go ahead with this QS, we'll come back with another report with basically the full picture then.
Yeah.
So it might be that's when we provide the copy of the assessment.
Yeah.
When we have the pricing come in. Yeah, because that will be attached to the next report.
And that'll cover all of the potential strengthening and things as well, as well as the
Yeah.
cosmetic.
That's right, because the last QS we got done for the DSA was in 2020. So we need that updated.
Yeah. Right, any other questions? Next, that's the recommendations. A, receives the report. B, approves the expenditure of an estimated $20,000 for a quantity surveyor's cost to estimate for compliance and maintenance work to bring the Molyneux Stadium up to current building standards, to be funded from existing unspent budgets. Authorises the chief executive to give effect to the resolution. Thank you, Tony. Seconded. Thank you, Roger. All those in favour?
Aye.
Yes. Karen, thank you very much, Karen. Right, financial report. Yeah, welcome, Donna. And I believe you are being supported. The duty is online as well. Wonderful. And that's good.
John, I will be able to give you more than that good time. So I'll get to the doc.
So a tab paper is being read. The financial report for the 31st of December 2023 is a favourable operating variance of $600,000 against the revised budget. Revenue has a favourable variance of 2.1 million. Driving this variance for the last few sections of Dunstan Park Stage 3, contributing to $1.3 million of this variance. Other areas continuing above the budgeted income are grants and subsidies, internal interest revenue and reserves contributions. Expenditure has an unfavourable operating expenditure variance of $1.5 million. This is being driven by the cost of land sales from the development cost of Stage 3 of Dunstan Park. That's just offset by the income side. Other areas that are above budget include the fixed expense, youth grants, and your staff costs. Both the grants and the staff costs are due to timing of the budget spread, and they should, this will continue through the year. Rates expense variance, however, will remain for the rest of the year, and is expected to be overspent by $30,000. There has been an adjustment made for the annual pay 24-25 to ensure that these costs are met within the budgets. Capital expenditure has a favourable variance of $240,000. There is 36% of the budget being spent to date. Parks and reserves having a favourable variance of $140,000 and property having a favourable variance of $56,000. The Alexandra Community Centre project is ahead of the budget spread, and that's just been offset with the Molyneux Stadium. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Tana. Questions? I had a couple. Alexandra Community Centre, the unfavourable variance 660. How much of that wasn't there some additional grants and things came in to cover that, or is that just where we're at with the project currently?
That's just where we're at with the current budget spend. So the actual spend will be offset by grants and subsidies. I believe there's some better off funding in there as well as our normal budget, but the total budget expenditure and cost there should be within of 800,000. Yeah, so the full year revised is $898,000.
And that will be boosted with the federal funding.
Perfect. And then on page 27, just having a look through, and I'm sure you can explain this to me, but there's in the Molyneux Stadium line.
Yeah.
Just finding that $1.4 million has moved out of that line. Is that what I'm reading?
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately, there was a wee bit of a mishap with that, the revised budget. So there's, at the end of the year, you'll notice in the annual report that there's a lot of zeros on that line. And so a lot of funding has gone through the general reserve. With a little bit of an adjustment, which wasn't caught, unfortunately, there's been some money that would normally be or cost, which had previously been sitting in the general reserve, has been moved to that stadium side.
Right.
And so at the end of the year, all of those costs get wrapped up through that reserve, the general reserve. So yeah, in the wash. It's kind of a little bit odd, and it's something that we're still unraveling as a team to get sorted, so we have a better idea when those reserves are sitting.
Perfect, because that was some of my other questions around some of those zero or buckets that nothing seems to happen with them. Whether we keep them or move them, but it's just because money's going into other areas and then moving around.
They're moving around, which is something that's been happening for a few years now. So it's just us getting to a bit of an understanding of what happens and why they're doing it that way, and whether we should be actually reflecting that we are going to be spending a bit of money on the Molyneux Stadium, for instance, and whether we should be looking at ring fencing it in this one area rather than looking at a general reserve at the end of each financial year.
And this is happening across most of our community wards and also the council accounts. So what we've identified as part of the LTP is a targeted project actually looking at the reserve movement. So we will be addressing that in the second half of this year.
Great, thank you very much.
Can you help me? I'll try to follow the example Paul line because that's a complete project. We've got 95,000 carried over from last year, and you've got on page 25, I think 217 granted from DIA this year. And then I tried to follow that through on your reserves account line credit. And
there's a few other bits and pieces in the poll. And of course, it's not a complete match for match. So, which makes it a little bit difficult. And of course, as soon as we get capital projects that have been carried forward, they might not be reflected in the annual report or the annual plan, and then they break through the net figure into the carry forward lines. And it doesn't make it very easy to see those ins and outs, unfortunately. Yeah, so it is something that we would like to try and look at clarity on ourselves.
And that particular line, Tony, to make it more confusing, some of it was funded through ourselves through reserves, and some was funded through better off funding the line up. So
yeah, so that's what I was trying to get the end number kind of what. Yeah, where the come and go. So look at the incoming and outgoing transfers and untransferred out, thinking where they from where they're going to.
That project finished being on budget, so it's
your internal interest and you quoted about your revenue and costs. So what is that?
So and if you look at your reserves table, for instance, at the general reserves line, you've got a surplus there of $6 million. So from that $6 million, you are earning interest from other cost centres, if you will, or departments that are in deficit. So you earn income on that. But if you have a cost centre like the Molyneux Pool, for instance, which is in deficit, that will be getting charged interest internally. So that will be getting billed. And we tend to use, as per our funding financing policy, the market interest rates. that comes through based on external debt or our term deposits.
So that's kind of what I guess it was a situation. So how does that impact when we actually look at our cash situation and we're going to strike rates? But we're talking a different game altogether.
So I'm not too sure.
Well, we're showing it in terms of our trading position and the reserves and on hand and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm just thinking if people look at that and they try and understand that. So that's on a P&L kind of basis rather than cash basis, isn't it?
It is, yes, more paying out than actual cash.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of a cash there, but of course the policy does state that if you deficit and you're borrowing off another one, you have to pay your interest costs between the two.
People have the $5 million in credit.
Do the interest costs get apportioned to the individual projects that are in grants?
No, so we don't tend to capitalise our interest. We have looked at that for our 3 waters areas, which is not in the community board space, but there's a few accounting.
I guess the reason why I'm asking that is if there is community, there's a community project on here that has received funds from community fundraising events, is the interest going to be attributable to those?
I do that on
that
the grants.
Yeah, on the reserves account, that's in credit.
Yeah.
So, okay.
A little bit.
So these reserves accounts, do they have funding from outside sources coming in?
They shouldn't do because so let's take River Park, for example. So there is funding from obviously ratepayers. There's funding we've got from the TIF funding for that, and then the trusts are doing separate fundraising. So we don't take the money from the trust unless we put it in our bank accounts. We are managing that project, so we'll spend the money in the right way, but we wouldn't, at the end of the Riverside project, we're not going to take the money from the trust and put it in our bank account. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, making sure that
Yeah, I'm not aware of any, not in the time I've been here, any practice of any community fundraising money having ended up in general reserves. Not really sure if it has been a historical practice though.
I couldn't tell you that either, but generally if a grant is received for a capital project, it offsets the total cost.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And the asset sits off ours and it's on the trust balance sheet, is it? For your part.
For the Riverside Park, that's now a council-led project. It was agreed with the trust. So that
Where's the asset?
the asset will sit with us.
Yeah.
In that situation, the bulk of the money for that though is ratepayer and the TIF funding to get that across the line. There's about $1 million sitting there between the TIF funding and the ratepayer contribution for stage 1. The first part anyway. We'll see as the project evolves, but yeah, anything that's been ratepayer funded would sit on our asset. So the project.
Any other questions?
Oh, just one with regards to the parks and I guess the camping ground projects. Is that just a matter of timing because it's easier to do camping ground projects in the autumn/winter? Or is it?
I think the camping ground one memory might actually be the Onekau.
Yeah, it's Onekau applied.
Yeah, so I believe that the Onekau one is waiting for the hub. And I think the Clyde one might just be a timing issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. There are no further questions, then the recommendations that the report be received and the movement seconded. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Tracy. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you very much, Donna and Saskia. Just a quick, Joe is here from Sports Central. Did anybody have any additional questions on disc golf that they want to ask the experts? But Gordy may not have already answered all the questions. No?
We're just to let you know that we're doing public meeting being recorded Tuesday night all night. At Punarangatahi, we were just inviting members of the public to come in and we would want to some people power, because we're going to need some people power to help build the course. I've spoken to the lead student about the possibility of even helping build tea boxes, if we want to go that way. And yeah, they were the main things. Oh, and to gauge the public would like to have 9 or push for 18 dollars straight away. So ideally, I would push for 18 because I feel like if there's only 9, the last time will never be built. So we may require some community sponsorship for that. So, and other small towns around New Zealand have done that and managed to pull in $500 a whole, which has made a difference to getting the 18.
Perfect. What time is that meeting?
7 o'clock, Tuesday night at Penrith.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Right, we now move to page 28 for the annual plan budget and the Donna.
I might leave it with
And Vibusi and Saskia. Thank you. Hi, Vibusi.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tema. Right. So this is the first one of the presentation of annual plan budget to the what I mean is the first community board. The general picture, if I may start with that, is that overarchingly costs, we all know, have increased across the board. So what you're seeing in your budgets here is reflective of those increases in different areas. There's a bit of an outline of where the increases are. Overall, for the Vincent ward, there's an increase of 14.5%. Or 551,000, quite a bit more than what was planned for year 4 of the long-term plan, which was 5 years ago. So I suppose that's not a big surprise. When we were producing the 21 long-term plan, I recall there was a lot of discussion about recession. That's not quite the situation at the moment. So that is what is here. And I think I'm going to open it up for questions if that's okay. Tema, if that...
Yeah, great, thank you. I'm sure there will be questions. Who wants to go first? Okay, I will. Page 33, I've just got a couple of questions. And maybe if we just go through the pages, and if anybody else has a question from that page, let us know. I just did wonder, at the bottom of page 33, where it talks about water supply and wastewater supply, if not rated as serviceable before, who would that capture? I'm just not sure what that means.
Now, my understanding is that would be a new connection. So maybe for whatever reason, someone hasn't had it serviceable before and now it is serviceable because the built or there's been a change in the use of that land would be what I would think for that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the provision of a lateral, which is we've got the pipeline going down there, we're connecting the property onto that. For whatever reason, they weren't connected before.
Perfect. Okay. Anybody else got questions from page 33? Yeah.
Just obviously the Oaktown one is bigger given the I'm picking as that scale problem and the lack of numbers. So when we look at the development contributions,
yeah,
is the reason why Oaktown is so much greater than everyone else just sheerly a numbers game?
Yeah, and that also impacts like Naseby with the water supply. So there is quite a calculation that goes into the development contributions that we will look at with council in the long-term plan. So there's no plan to change the formula in the annual plan. And as you can see, based on the current thing we use, it does impact different ratepayers in different ways. But we can definitely, when we go through the long-term plan, as part of development contributions, we can work through that in detail.
It also, Oh, sorry, I was just going to add, Tracy, it also depends on what projects are planned there, what is the growth component of that, and that contributes to the charge that's being levied.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I just obviously it's significantly higher than every other one, and I'm just conscious that I would hate for that to be a negative on trying to promote development and change out there. Anyway, that's what it is.
The process, so with the 22% on some items and with 10% on others, what's the process for deciding on 22% and 10% where they're in?
So the 22% PPI, so that is within the development contributions policy. And in terms of this is a council charge because this is a district service. So this is if council wanted to, that would be a council decision on the 24th of April. But yeah, there's a formula within that. There's a specific development contributions policy. And there's a formula worked through that and how we got to the 23%.
And is that why we end up such odd numbers, like $5,698, not $5,700? Is that how we end up with such?
Yeah, and as Rudy said, it's all related to what projects, so the numbers game, what projects are planned, etc., etc. So there's actually quite a lot of detailed financial analysis that goes into working out the development contributions.
And I believe around the round numbers, instead of having 5,698, why would we say 5,700?
That would
So
be.
Sorry, I was just going to say you're correct in that it's a 22% direct application, and that's why you're not rounding it. I suppose you could round it down, but you can't round it up because there's a provision in the Act that says if you increase it by PPI, which is actually released by Stats New Zealand, then you don't have to consult on it. Anything other than that is policy change. So that would be why those numbers are, that specific.
Okay, well, if not allowed to round it up, I'm not going to round it down. Okay.
Yeah, well, yes, that's right. Because if you round it up, you might be going over 22%. And I suppose a dollar could twig you into significance for consulting.
There's your answer.
Other questions on that page? 34? 35, it's possibly a question for the environmental team, but I just wondered why there was no charge on some of those hazardous waste down the bottom of the hazardous waste category. I would have thought people would need to pay for all the hazardous waste they dispose of, because we will need to do something with it.
Good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we've got anybody in the room that can answer that.
Maybe we could just.
We'll take a note for that because again, waste, that's a council question. So we'll take a note of that and have that ready for when we come to council.
Yeah, because it was what kind of came back to my question that Peter asked earlier about commercial focus. I mean, we're getting into some numbers there that are more of a commercial volume. Surprisingly, with charge.
Have to come back to them.
And the same in that abandoned vehicles, we have them in the Vincent area. Will those charges, as anticipated, that the fees for abandoned vehicles will be charged back to the registered owner if one can be found?
Page are we on?
Sorry, page 37. Previously, we didn't charge anything for officer time, mileage, storage costs, all the rest of it. So I think it's appropriate that we are charging, but I just wondered if there was a mechanism for that.
So the mechanism that we would just invoice through the finance team. So if we could find a registered owner and we had those details, we could just do an internal team would just tell us and we get issue an invoice. Yeah.
Perfect.
Just out of interest, do we have a policy in relation to abandoned vehicles? Next, maybe a council question, but
I think that we do, because I complained about some abandoned vehicles. And lo and behold, eventually they disappeared.
At least a process. I do know there's at least a process about policy.
There seems to be a process whereby a sticker will be put on your vehicle saying this vehicle appears to be abandoned. If it's not, you need to move it off where it is, and if it's not moved, then eventually it is towed.
Registered own run, but registration process is rubbish, so that often doesn't help. We sold it 3 years ago, sort of thing, but there is a process.
Well, so I had one outside my mother's last year. They ran property and they got stickered and they wait 14 days and then it's removed. The problem was Paul was living in the car, and Paul was living at the car at the time. He's since found somewhere else to park up. So there was a process and it worked well.
It's good.
Any other questions on the next couple of pages? I just would like to note that on page 41, $72 for a non-working or family dog still represents outstanding value for a dog registration in New Zealand.
Depends on the dog.
Yes. Depends what you're feeding them too, because the price of food is in contact.
It's very good.
And page 52. The Omako camp fees. I just saw that the Reserve Committee had asked to increase the fees, but then some of the fees were going to free, which is awesome for those people with children under 5. But I just wanted to check that that was in line with what the Omako Reserve Committee had asked for.
It is, yeah.
Sorry, Madam Chair, that, I'm sure they've asked for it, but if it's, so I take it 2 to 5 years with full bedding. We're providing the full bedding? Or they are, the kids have got sleeping.
Yeah, but yeah, they would, yeah.
Ah, cool, okay, that makes sense, because I was thinking that's going to be a cost.
Yeah.
Then we queue up, right, I'll shut up.
On page 49, I noted that on your pool charges, that 25 swims concessions 160, and if you go 50 swims, you're actually paying more. Paying 330 instead of 320. Two transactions instead of one.
Sorry, say that one again, from 25 to 50.
Which page?
Yeah.
So that's page
Yeah, yeah, because you're paying, you might as well get the 25 swims.
Two transactions instead of one, yeah.
But this one is costing more.
Oh, stop.
And previously it was the same on the previous one too. Costing more.
Would VCB like to discuss a change to that?
And the 12 ones.
Yes. I've got a 6-month pass on that. Everything on the review.
Would facilitate on that one?
So that's the membership card, that's the pass.
The 50 swims is supposed to go up to 330, and the point is that 25 swims is supposed to go up to 160. You times that by 2, you get 320. So why would you get 50 swims? It's not else you know.
We should adjust that.
We've got the same problem with the child.
Yeah.
Is that the free swims? I was just wondering if that was the 3 free swims part of it, because is the 3 free swims over and above the 50? So is it 53 swims for the price of 50?
$10.
No, it's just
No,
50 swims. It's a reverse sales tactic. That's all it is.
And the sales tactic is terrible.
No, we can adjust it so there's a bit more, reflects what we're trying to say.
So I think what we need to probably propose with VCB is a number, because you're seeing your resolution, because the Cromwell and Vincent are so close together, is what we've previously done is keep the fees in line. Both committee boards have worked usually in a joint workshop. So I think what we need to do this morning is suggest a number that will take to Cromwell this afternoon, that number.
Right, they've got the same, yeah.
Yeah, because we don't want to have Vincent's fee way lower than Cromwell's, and then people that live in Cromwell work in Vincent go, I might as well use the Alex pool and not the Cromwell for that reason.
So do you want us to suggest a number?
Would you like to lead off with a number?
Yeah. 320, it should be 320.
What's the bonus for someone to do that though?
Yeah.
They get
There's no bonus.
3 free swans, you get a 2 free swans.
$157. Yeah.
63. Based on this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
$63, it should be 315.
Yeah, if you follow it through.
If you follow through.
The numbers are,
And then you'd end up with your three free
So
swims.
63, 160, then an even 315, which would follow it.
And for the child, we've got the same to
follow the same number and pattern.
Yeah.
So we work that through, what is that? Saying, child. 50 swims.
So then, is it right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 180 rather than 188. You're using the calculator. Yeah, it's a 188. It should be 180. 180? Old age doesn't come along there.
No.
And 180 for the child 50 swims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the same thing again, which Cromwell may notice is that it was previously the same price to hire the council chambers here or in Cromwell, but now there's $1 difference in your new fees on page 56.
I want from property and to answer that question. Would we like to propose that they be the same
I think
as
so.
previous?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be, both at 127 or both at 128?
I thought 128.
128?
Yeah.
Would you do the same for the 62 for the half day versus 61?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 128 full day and 62 half day.
Yeah. And then, does anybody else have any questions on fees and charges before I move through to the?
Can I just go back to the Omicau camp fees? Just what Tim was saying, it does read like the full bedding is free. So, and there's the Omicau camp fees, it's got full bedding for adult child, and then child 2 to 5 years, full bedding. It still reads as though we are providing the bedding for free.
Well, we had a charge on that. Have you got comment on that, Gordon?
Yeah, it should be charged.
Yeah.
Wasn't charged previously $6 per child.
So,
Yeah.
it was $12 previously. I guess if you're,
Yeah.
just so it's consistent, because otherwise it's what's
The
Whether
sleeping
that's-
bags and stuff, the next one down.
the sleeping bag is the
Three, I
next one
think it
down.
should be 6, shouldn't it, Gordon?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a typo there. It shouldn't be free. It should be
Yeah.
$6 per child.
$6 for full bedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on some of the fees and charges as far as camping grounds are concerned, how can we still have the Clyde campground control over that lease, and we don't have any direct control over it when we lease it out?
So,
I thought we still
just,
said
yeah, so under the lease, the fees and charges need to be approved by the board.
Oh, okay.
And to make sure that they, I guess they aren't $100 a night or whatever, just so there's some, checking over that. So they come every year, and we've now, and you might recall I've done several reports on that.
Yeah.
So I've now put it in the fees and charges, so it just comes up annually.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why we don't receive the income. We just monitor the fees.
You receive a rental.
Mm.
sorry to drag you back to the Omakau camping ground, but I'm on their website and it said, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't clarify it any further, but it says cabins, standard bedding from $33, full bedding from $48. So if we look at the fees, the full bedding fee is $48. So the child 2 to 5 years full bedding means that we're, under what we're doing here, are going to be paying for the washing of the sheets, with getting no money for it. We're going backwards. I think that just needs.
No, we changed.
It should.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Oh, sorry, I was too
$12
busy
for
looking to
the
listen.
full bedding and then $6 for the camping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see now. I was looking.
Should be carried across.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's my bad.
Yeah, so good. My bad for looking instead of listening. It's been a detective.
How do our airport landing fees align with, I know it's bucket load cheaper than anywhere else you can land a plane here. But that'll probably change.
54, you're on page 54 for landing fees? Yeah.
Sorry.
So we've got no one here that's subject matter expert in that area, and if councillors, again, that's a council activity, so if councillors would like to address that, we'll have an opportunity on the 24th of April, if you guys would like to look at that, and we'll have obviously people in the room that can provide advice on that.
Yeah.
We can take it.
And Tony, just a little bit of it is benchmarked against other sort of roughly similar sized airports as well, so they get some of the pricing guidance from. So
Obviously, it's cheap compared to anything else.
yeah.
Any other questions on the fees and charges schedule? Right, moving to appendix 2, the annual plan budget. In expenditure, I just wondered what conferences and courses covered. Does that start?
Sorry, I'm going to be a real pain, Tony. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. The Omakau Hall needs to be taken out, given that it's not, it's not for hire anymore. Sorry, Toma.
That's all right.
Good pick up, guys.
Well done.
I emailed about that last week, and an email back saying it's going to be removed.
What hall?
And apologies for this, we have done this at lightning speed, and we have had some staff on leave while we've been trying to finalise these fees and charges. So while it's not your job to be picking this all up, we do appreciate the eyes that you are putting in us.
Yeah, a few moving parts in there.
We're not nitpicking, we're just helping out with the next, because you're under the pump. I know. Switching back and forth between LTP and NLP and lightning speed.
Sorry, what was your question again, Tima? Sorry.
There's a line item expenditure on our draft budget that is for courses and courses. I just wondered what that covers.
Page is it?
Page 63 in the agenda.
Donna, would you have the detail there with you?
Full detail, but my understanding is it includes elected members and staff conferences and courses, as well as possible training as well.
And that'll cover first aid and all that sort of thing, health and safety and.
So that'll be particularly related to activities that are ward charged. So think of things like property, the parks area and whatnot, where and then governance is another good example. Serious time is a portion. So what you'll see coming through there for every community board, there'll be a portion of serious training, for example, that would be in that mix. Great, thank you.
Yeah. I did notice the expenditure main variances. When you add them all together, it comes up to more than the $551,000 increase that we're looking at. So well done on saving money, obviously in other areas, because there was about a $30,000 or $40,000 discrepancy there. And then looking at page 65. Just trying to find my little bubble. Yeah, our increase to the promotions grant that is going to be coming up as an item.
That's so we formally put that into the resolution so that you will make a decision on that today. Yeah.
And I just wanted to look at, as a change of 16.5% on what we currently have in the budget, but an overall change within that grants budget of 0.2%, I think. When you look down further into the ward services charge. Is that because money has been saved elsewhere?
So they are two separate rates.
Yeah.
So the top will be an increase for the promotions rate as it stands.
Yeah.
And then the grants one has actually just dropped, I think, by inflation.
So that doesn't cover the promotions, that's completely separate from that. Okay. Well, and then I just wondered, there are a couple of the cemeteries on page 66, Clyde and Unco, had nothing in the budget for 24-25. Is that because nothing is required, or is that because we're just trying to save money there and we'll have a bow wave down the track?
It's because their operating revenue meets their operating expenditure.
Right. Popular place.
Yeah.
Okay. That's. Okay.
Yeah.
Good thing, I don't know if
And
it's a
you
good
can
thing or a
see
bad thing.
fees and charges for cemeteries has gone up in line with operational costs as well, so it's sort of use of
And
sense.
the minimum size, isn't irrigated or anything, the minimal sort of mowing and stuff requirements of outcomes and so. Like that.
So just going back to your promotions, are we in the right, and I missed whether you explained it, are we in the right environment to be putting up our budget for that?
That's a very good question.
That's for elected members to debate amongst yourself. My understanding that there was at a previous meeting of this board, there was some interest in increasing it. So hence we'll put that for you today for a decision on that. And you guys, we've got no officer advice on that. That's for you guys to make a decision on whether or not you wish to increase that.
Would we like to have that discussion now as we work through this? Not for making a decision, just a discussion on the benefits in, or not, of increasing that promotions grant.
Do we have a sense there's going to be an increased demand or similar?
So, yeah, so we can speak to that. So it was a team who put that. Also, yes, we are seeing an oversubscription to your existing promotions grants in the Vincent. Hence, it was suggested we put it up by $10,000, which is.
And do you think we missed a mark with only 41 to spend, and have we missed the line into great opportunities?
Oh, but that would be hard to say. But things like, I'm trying to think of some examples. Wollong's one, the Spirit of Women's being another, where Blossom Fest does secure from here. We've had others such as Crankworks, which we had to go to council for. The Prospector went to council for, so often council's been the backstop, but it shouldn't be. It doesn't actually have a promotion grant plan. It should be from other rules. There is a proposal that council has its own promotion grant fund, but that won't go in until at earliest 2025-26 financial year. But yeah, hard to say if things are missing out because we don't know if we don't fund them whether or not going to. But you would certainly, you're being oversubscribed. Oversubscription's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we could have spent that extra 9,000 this last year to good effect.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the Rangers Council.
Yeah. Or not. You
So just to note, your budgets have included the increase. So if you were of the mind, to not approve that today, your rate payers will across the board get a slight percentage decrease. It won't be huge because the bulk of the money comes from those district services. You would have seen on that pie graph, but that would, so it won't be that we're increasing the budgets after they, if you decide to put it to 50,000. Or 40, sorry, put the wrong number there.
Sarah asked the question, is the other community boards got similar situation with their grants process?
So you're the only one putting it up significantly. Some others are doing some rounding to find out number. And TBIT has asked to put these up like it's 5,000.
And Cromwell, have a far bigger pool than we do.
That's correct. So Cromwell sits at $108,000 at the moment.
Okay. Any other questions on the report before we move to the resolutions?
Just the other, sorry.
Comment from David. The liquor and dye bore compliance improvement, what does that all service?
What services are finding back?
Okay.
Qualification there, and there's a requirement. Consent from the regional council.
Thank you.
I guess the question's got to be asked about the Omakau Hall again, the costs for upcoming, the annual plan. Is there a cost? What's the cost involved for that in the budget? For the AP on page 65.
So at the moment, the only thing sitting in or being rated for the Omakau Hall are the rates.
Just the
sitting,
rates.
and I think there is a little bit of depreciation funding, but maybe rates.
Okay.
Maybe the power.
We depreciate something that's going to get knocked down.
The tables on the inside, or there's a oven in there, which
We don't take it out for knock it down, not depreciate it.
well, hopefully we'll just have it all. We won't have to knock it down.
Very.
That's my understanding.
And just back to the Omakau camp, 3 times the charm. The people that run it did put a request forward to make it, put the two prices up to the, they suggested, and to make the kids free. So I guess the direction we've had from you guys, so it was 12 to make it 3, to make it free. We've discussed 6, but does the board just want to leave it at 12 for kids, or are you happy to make it 6? They did come to us requesting to make kids under 5 free, including their bedding.
Including bedding.
Yeah.
Would they,
Yeah.
given the vast majority of parents who travel with small children take their own bedding for their small children, would you just say, well, if you're bringing your own bedding, it is free, and if you need anything else, there's cost?
Yeah, so with bedding, $12, without bedding, free.
Yeah, that,
I think so.
So we just add an extra line in there.
Yeah.
Other way round, isn't it? Sorry, is it supposed to be the other way round? With bedding free without, oh, when you say with bedding, they bring their own bedding.
Yeah, correct. They've got their own. Yeah.
So when they get their own, would you not make it free?
No, with bedding is they require bedding from sheets and the
But
like,
then
and without bedding, if they're bringing their own bedding or their own sleeping bag, they will stay for free if they're under 5.
Yeah.
Maybe we should take out the with bedding, without bedding, to make it own bedding, not own bedding, just so they know what the with without it. I was reading it the other way.
I'm wondering whether I'm missing something, but you're doing this in isolation, because if there's 1,000 kids have been paying $12 this year, that's 12 grand out the bottom line. And you don't know what this altruistic decision, I don't want to be the Grinch, but.
No, we're not. We're saying that they will pay if they're using our bedding.
Yeah, but up till now, they've been paying either way, right? So how much is this decision going to?
I don't think they have been paying either way.
Yeah.
If you look on the website, there's 2 different prices. One standard bedding from 33 and full bedding from 48. I don't know whether standard means you've got no bedding or what, but I guess I'm just indicating that there's a decision being made without looking at the ramification across the board. You might come back next year and find your Ormacao camping grounds in the red because you've got an income stream. It's easy to make these.
So it's 12, it was 12. It was $12.
Yeah.
For a kid to come and stay.
Yeah.
And be provided with bedding.
It was $12.
And it was $6 if they come and bring their own sleeping bag. And I think the only proposal was that we would miss out on the $6 if a child is bringing their own sleeping bag, not the $12.
But $6 over how many kids did that? How many kids paid that $6 in the last year? Because if it was, and what will that affect on the bottom line? How much fat is in the bottom line?
Well, I'm guessing not that, because that's only in cabins, not in powered sites. So if they're in their tents.
And the key to it is the word you just used on guessing.
Yeah.
The board should not be put in a position where we don't have the information to make a safe decision. And this is a very small
I
example.
think we're reaching a consensus of a middle ground around what the committee had asked for, which was that children be free.
Well, I just hope that the committee has done the numbers to make sure that that's not going to leave.
I guess the big thing for following on for what Tim's saying is that if you have one parent and 3 children, then that's there's your number, there's your numbers game.
I mean, I'm all for it. I used to be a solo dad, but I'm also, we need to be careful of being given things, hey, let's do this. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. And then ouch. And it might not be ouch because it's a small number, but I don't know how much.
Given that it's going to be in place for 1 year and then we're rolling into an LTP discussion, are people comfortable making that decision?
Once it's
on the basis of then perhaps some more substantial data could be provided going into the LTP.
Here's a simple question. Does the Ormacao, does it run at a profit or a loss at the moment? And if it's a profit, how much?
Sort of breaks even, right?
Breaks even. So you're going to be putting it into a deficit by doing this, but breaks even.
Yeah, it's come a long way.
Yeah.
It did run.
Because it was running at a loss. That's my concern.
Yeah.
Probably being, I might be arguing over $600, which is what often happens, but I think it's just.
Do you want to leave? I thought we had left it at $12 per child and $6 per child with the sleeping bags.
Yeah.
But we've just moved those numbers across and it was still free for children under 5 and a tent or a powered site.
Just leaving status quo, and if they want to change it further, we can.
Yes, LTP.
Yeah.
For the cabinets, it's even first grade.
Yeah.
I feel like we're sorry.
That's good.
Know how to explain it to me.
Yeah.
They can still stay, children under 5 for free in tent sites, both powered and unpowered, their own account. There's actually no change to what the current status quo is. Have you thought?
Yeah.
Third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm. Thanks, everyone.
Right. If we move to then back to page 28, which is right there, and recommendations.
Kiki's are going to say about that.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So
Hazardous waste
the
update.
bottom 2 items, which you referred to up to 20 kg or 20 litre and 100 kg or 100 litre. Should read of no charge, charges of one covered.
It's charged
Not
on
no
no
change, not no change. They were in NA last year, so hopefully could just be removed from the fees and charges schedule. So I just emailed the.
That's sorry, I've just got it now. So, so if we go back to the hazardous waste, that
What
was
page number?
environmental, close to the start.
35.
There you go, 35.
Mm-hmm.
So what the QP has said is hazardous waste classes 2 to 9 are all charged per kg. So the next one's down up to 20 kilos and 100 kgs more are actually irrelevant because we charge per kg. And his suggestion is just removing those. Yeah. Yeah.
And he does cover vehicles that go to the bottom. It's the new charge.
Yeah. Ben.
Yes, because the way it reads is that there's no charge if you have a whole lot of waste.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he said it should be removed because we actually charge per kg on those.
Just
Yeah.
flat line.
Flat line. Yeah.
Right.
And just a point of clarity on the abandoned vehicles, the charges in there are new. Just in the past, we haven't charged for these. They've been a cost to council, where now we can. Well, the proposal is that we can.
Yeah.
So then it goes on to the RFP.
Right.
Because they can be good idea.
They're away. Just because you take the plates off. Right.
Did I see paint? Yeah, this just has it on the headless.
Yeah.
I dropped some off the other day and the charge for what it was, but.
Yeah, she said if you take those off and there's a drop.
That's the pressure in the hands.
That's exactly the answer.
I don't know if that's. Right.
Sorry, question. Yeah. The dust suppression, we're obviously not allowed to use oil anymore. So what is the dust suppression? Do we know? So if we're using water, that's way too expensive. It's way too precious to be using for dust suppression. But, pardon?
Vegetable.
Vegetable oil.
Is it vegetable?
I don't think so.
Grilling or not?
Yes, it's not actual food.
Yeah, it's actual food.
Yeah.
Do you mean at the transfer station?
Yeah.
Ah,
No,
No, on
roading.
Roading outside people's houses on dirt roads.
We used to do that, but
yeah, I
you know,
remember the oil back in the day, yeah. I don't know, have to come back to you on that. I'm not sure what we use now.
It's a synthetic.
it's a
Yeah.
synthetic, so it's interesting, there's a no charge.
I think we want.
I've got some houses that could be done.
Do you remember what page it is, Tracy?
Yes, sorry, 38. Yeah, I know.
That's a rating one anyway, so we just have that and answer from council, you ask the question there.
I think because the people, there was something that people got it for free within, like once a year or something.
So there was,
There's a council program timetable, so I guess there's no specific, it must be covered in general. Yeah.
You complain that you get nothing, and then here you go.
it's up in the rural sector.
I guess that's might be saying we don't do it outside of what's programmed.
Then that should just be removed then.
Well, no, I think it's, you get it done, same as you get your roads graded to X amount of times for free,
Yeah.
not for free. That's programmed and the dust will be done once a year or once a 3
I
years
think
or
we should
whatever,
get
and
that.
then if you want it done extra, you need to.
Maybe we just need that confirmed, I think.
Oh, it does say that, yeah. So outside of program and inside of program. So inside of program, no charge. If you want it done outside of program, it's at cost. So I guess passed on.
Not a program.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question is what's used now, not about the cost.
Oh, probably a little bit of both, that's okay.
Yeah.
We can get QP to.
Yeah. I think reading this, if it was outside of what was programmed, you'd be for the full charge. Yeah.
So what page are we going back to?
Back to page 28, which is our resolution. Might just do.
It's quite a lot.
Okay. Do you want to have a discussion on B separately? Or do you want this, does someone want to move them together?
Quite happy to move to.
Movers, thank you, Martin, seconded Jaden. So resolutions, receives and it's not moving around. Receives a report, accepts the level of significance, recommends to council that the promotions grant be increased by $8,250 to $50,000 for the 24-25 financial year. Agrees the draftments of board annual plan budget and recommends to council for inclusion in the annual plan. Agrees to increase the pool charges according to the schedule, subject to the Community Board of Cromwell also agreeing to ensure continuity across, and then agrees to accept the Vincent Ward fees and charges schedule and recommend to council for inclusion with the following amendments. Cost of 50 swims for an adult is $357, the 50 swims for a child is $180. All charges for Alexandra Chambers is 128 and after 62, which is what it is in there. So it was just Cromwell Chambers that would need to change. So that is, I assume that we can't suggest that it change. So is it, I think that's probably just something for you to know.
The other thing you could look at doing to make it easier, because Cromwell would need to agree to that this afternoon, is for you to reduce yours to 127 and 61.
We're happy to leave them as is, and it's just for noting that Cromwell might like to align these. Take that out. Well, they are.
They won't.
They might not. They might think they're not with the same amendment.
Donna has just said to me, and is that correct? That is actually service centres are a district charge, so that's actually a decision for council. So council can resolve that discrepancy on the 24th as to whether or not they want different charges for the extra dollar.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, guys.
It's all right. That the underground hall charges removed for the 24-25 period, because obviously it is no longer available for hire. That the fee for hazardous waste up to 20 kg or 20 litres and 100 kg or 100 litres is removed and is not applicable. Any discussion on those resolutions? All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you very much for your efforts on that. Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you.
Lucky day. Okay. And no doubt there will be lots of discussion to come with our communities on what that means for us. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam.
Your report.
So I wasn't at the last VCB meeting, as I was at the post-Waitangi Day Otago Southern Combined Mayoral Forum and Te Rupa Whaia meeting, which is with Southern iwi leaders and Invercargill alongside Peter. Waitangi Day was held at the Te Araha Marae Bluff. It was a great event, as it always is. The highlight for me was fluking having morning tea with Tātipanei O'Regan, one of Te Waipounamu's great leaders. Also got to have morning tea with Speaker of the House, Jerry Brownlee, which was entertaining, probably more so for me than him, and Minister of Rural Communities, Mark Patterson. So the thing of going to these events is often the conversations you have around the fringes rather than sitting in the room hearing the talk. So this day, the last meeting was the 7th of February, so the day after, and that was the Combined Mayoral Forum Te Rupa Whaia. We held that at the Murahiki Marae, just outside of Invercargill. Similarly, very useful day, and included hearing from the newly elected Kai Whakahaere, or chairman of Te Rūnaka Ngāi Tahu, Justin Tipper, who's a very compelling speaker. The next week, I was chosen by LGNZ to be one of 2 presenters of Parliament to the new and actually some not so new National Party MPs on the subject of localism. Got to say, standing in front of about 15 of the nation's leaders facing questions was fairly hectic, actually, because it wasn't just on localism but local government in general. But it was a really useful thing to do, because you get to put across the viewpoint of a rural mayor, even though we're in the provincial group, we're essentially rural, and challenge them on some of their thinking. A lot of the National Party MPs are rurally based, but some aren't, so it was a useful opportunity. I attended the Central Otago MP show, which was great until it rained. We'll never complain about rain in Central, but we could have an issue with the timing. Looking forward to it next year. I'm the LGNZ National Council representative, and in that role I joined President Mayor Sam Broughton and CEO Susan Freeman-Green on a road trip around Zone 6. So if you don't know, Zone 6 is all the councils south of the Waitaki, including Waitaki. So we met with mayors, chairs and councils of QLDC, CODC, DCC, ORC, Clutha, Gore and Cargill and Forum and Southland over 2 days. Really good to hear from particularly councillors. We get to meet the mayors a lot, but it was great to catch up with the councillors as well. And really, everybody's in the same boat. The conversations you at a board level have just had, every council in the country is having them, and that was evidence to me that day. Attended a meeting in relation to Falls Dam, and we've all seen the pictures in the paper and just how incredibly dry things are at the moment and the effect that that's had on that reservoir. I attended the LGNZ National Council meeting on the 1st of March, and probably the important relevant part of that for the board members is that Arcona, which is the LGNZ training and education tool, it's web-based, is now going to be part of membership for next year. And the reason for that is that it couldn't survive on being voluntary. We either killed it or we made it part of membership. And the problem with killing it is it's the only specific local government training module that there is for New Zealand. So you can go and do Institute of Directors, which will be helpful, but it won't tell you the specific things about local government. It won't tell you how to do an LTP or any number of other things. So it was felt that by making it part of the fees, then it opens it up to everybody. And you may have a council that has 2 or 3 people who will chew it up and eat it to death, and 7 or 8 that won't. And so they don't get it because the majority that don't want to use it. But the feeling, and I agree with National Council, was that those who do utilise it are going to lift the performance, and the tide will lift for everybody. And the number of times you get asked a question of, well, what do we do about this? And the answer actually sits in Arcona, I think will be very useful. And it worked it out for us. I think it equates to something like $210 a member per year to have that resource available. So it was particularly good value for money, given the number of elected members that we have. I was back in Parliament on the 20th of February alongside Mayor Glynn from QLDC and 3 locally based MPs to have a meeting with Health Minister Dr. Shane Retty. We presented an initiative to bring better healthcare to the Central Lakes. He acknowledged the need for this and is looking for a progress report. To put it in context, approximately 70% of the people in New Zealand not serviced by a fully serviced hospital live in inland Otago, and that's just the normally resident population. So what I put to Minister Retty was that if you look at our peak visitors in QLDC and CODC, there's actually as many people here at our peak times as there are in Hamilton City. And if you could imagine Hamilton City and the nearest hospital is a half an hour past Middlemore, which is what it equates to, it's just not a safe or sustainable situation. And the reality of this is that we're really planting seeds, and the government's got no money at the moment, but we need to still plant seeds now for 10 or 15 years down the track when our population growth in inland Otago demands a hospital be built, and we will already have done the lead work at the beginning of it. It's a pleasure to meet Dr. Retty, actually, a very nice person. That same day, on the 20th of February, Council met. I joined a little bit by Zoom as possible, but on that day, the representation review was discussed. It's how we do governance. It's got to happen at least every 6 years. And Council agreed to a number of things in the consultation document, which included dropping the number of Vincent councillors from the current 5 to 4. That's to meet legislative requirements, which get a little bit complicated, but the law says you've got to have an approximate balance for the number of councillors per person. And Vincent, as you do in Cromwell, and our outliers Teviot and Maniatoto, because of the geographical distance and the communities of interest there, don't quite fit into it. So the council voted to put that in the consultation document, that we drop 1 Vincent councillor, which I think is a credit to those Vincent councillors that were there, because it is turkeys voting for Christmas, actually. And to also only have 1 councillor sit on the Vincent and community wards. That's the proposal at the moment. That's out for consultation through till the 28th of, I've got October here, but that's got to be April. Goodness knows what I was thinking. Alongside Chair Tamer and Peter, I attended the Zone 5 and 6 conference in South Island. So that's basically that is the South Island conference in Christchurch. And first and foremost, congratulations must go to Chair Tamer for being elected the chair of Zone 6 and for the aplomb with which she handled the role at the meeting. It's very unusual for a non-mayor or a regional councillor chair to hold the zone chair. And Tamer being elected to this position shows the stature she holds amongst the members of neighbouring councils. Well done, Tamer. It was awesome. Tamer, are you going to talk on the speakers at that conference? Is that better?
Only briefly, so
Yeah.
you've got notes that you wanted to.
I won't do it. If you are, We've been fortunate in council to get funding through the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs program, which is another LGNZ program. It's a partnership between LGNZ and the Ministry of Social Development. It focuses on getting young people into sustainable employment while promoting community-led solutions for youth employment, education and training. So if any of you know any needs who are young people not in education, employment or in training in the community who could do with that lift up into the workforce, please let me know. We've appointed a coordinator. And it can be, all sorts of things can be done. Get them driver's licenses, get them the work boots they need because they've got a chance, but for an apprenticeship, but they haven't got the cat. That kind of thing is available. So please let me know. And finally, one of the great joys of being a mayor is to have involvement with young people, and that occurred when I was asked to be the judge of the Terrace Has Talent event at the Terrace School. We watched 8 individuals or groups performing dance or song, and it was an absolute treat for the soul. It was just cool, and amongst all the gloom. So happy to take any questions on that.
Sure. Thank you very much. Happy to move that the Mayor's report be received, and Jaden will second that. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. It's been a busy time.
Oh yeah.
Now move to my Chair's report, and I start off with it's been a busy time. Since our last meeting, as everybody headed back to school, and term 1 always seems a bit full on after the long break. So just some highlights from the last couple of months. Work has started on the next Southern Lakes Trail in the Kodero Gorge. You can see the diggers in action as you drive to Queenstown. It is anticipated to take around 2 years to build and open. I'm sure Tony will be front of the line. To head through that, it's going to be absolutely glorious through here. The National Wild and Pine Network meeting I attended online. There's some big changes coming to the way our Wild and Pine group operates, and the Department of Conservation is removing themselves from being involved in that space. And the group will have a partnership directly with Otago Regional Council. So we've been working through what that partnership agreement looks like. Tracy and I had a catch up with one of our ORC councillors, Gary Callagher, to ensure relationships and communication keep happening, working together and sharing progress where we can. I attended Central Otago Advisory Committee where Joel De Beer was appointed as the new chair. He'll do an excellent job and is very well engaged in our communities. Then I enjoyed attending the Business After 5 at Highlands, which was fantastic, and met some new business owners in town. Certainly encourage business owners in this room to get along to those when they can. They certainly are beneficial. Then I, along with Tracy and some of the other councillors, attended a visit to Puketeraki Marae down near Karatani, which is Rebecca's home spot. It was a wonderful privilege and experience to attend and see the beautiful views and share in the kai and stories, and made even more special by having our own personal tour guide who grew up there. And there are some excellent walks with great views out to the ocean around Karatani. So if you are driving down that way, it is well worth heading along. What is it called, Rebecca?
3-hour peninsula.
Yeah, Google Maps it. It can be tricky to find, can't you? I came along and attended a visit from LGNZ President Sam Broughton and Susan Freeman Green with Tim. They were talking about issues for our council and how LGNZ can support us, and as Tim highlighted, making the Arpona program free as part of our membership, which will be really great for community. I've done a couple of the programs when they first launched it and it was free then, and they're certainly worthwhile, and as Tim said, local government specific, which is really helpful. I attended a rural and provincial meeting online, and then an audit and risk meeting, which was both comforting and terrifying to know that some of the challenges we face are not only a national issue, but international issue as well, especially around insurance cost increases and what this means into the future for councils. There was a Central Otago Leaders Group hui, and we found out that Dunstan Hospital is the only rural hospital in New Zealand with a fully staffed senior medical officer roster, which I think is a huge credit to the air. And I spoke to a friend who was a doctor and asked her why that was, and she said because this is such a great place to live. I agree. Yeah. And with her, I also thoroughly enjoyed attending a recent quiz night for a local family that had outstanding attendance and tens of thousands of dollars raised to support their sick little girl, which was definitely an outpouring of community spirit in this area.
I attended a U3A talk on the future of local government, which was organised by Roger, which was wonderful. I love going along to those. And then the Zone 6, where I became chair a couple of weeks ago, and attended the joint Zone 5 and 6 meeting in Christchurch. There were some really interesting discussions, as you all well understand, around Three Waters and what that looks like. Some great guest speakers, including from Kaitahu Justin Tipa. There has been an offer put forward by Kaitahu to work together with councils in this space. So myself and Dan Horton, who's the chair of Zone 5, are planning to meet with Justin to find out what the first step of that might look like, and then it will come back to councils. There were several ministers there. The recurring theme is bring us solutions, don't bring us problems. So everybody needs to get their hats on. DIA were in attendance, as well as the New Zealand Initiative talking about localism. And then last week, Tracy and I attended a get-together with other QLDC and ORC councillors at Panners and Cromwell, where we work through issues, support each other. It was really well attended, and we're regularly getting sort of 10 to 12 people coming along to those. So I think they are worthwhile continuing.
Any notes coming out of your meeting in Christchurch?
Yes, I have got some notes that I'm planning to share around, but I also would quite like to do a little video for those. It's in production and will be with you imminently. The idea from Zone 6 is that when there are things happening within the zone, be it a meeting or something that's happened, I will share it with all community board members and councillors, not just mayors and chairs. So yeah, watch this space on its way. I'm happy to move that my report be received, and Jaden is happy to second that. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Aye, against, carried. We now move to our members' reports. Jaden, would you like to give us some?
Okay, not as busy as you, but just a few wee highlights. I went along and enjoyed the sun in Roxburgh last weekend for the 100 years of energy celebration. Had a bit of fun, didn't we, Tim?
Yes, been with me, no range.
Went along last weekend also to Balance Cottage Open Day to have a look at that. Didn't join in on the brick making. I think the kids might get a bit too messy doing that. But it was really cool to see the photos online of the schools getting involved with that. So good work to all those that organised that one. I attended an LGD community board Zoom, I believe last week, Otago anniversary. And so it's quite interesting just hearing about what's going on around the country for other community boards and realising we are in a really good place here compared to some of the others when it comes to representing the community and having some level of influence with decision making. I met with MPs Damien O'Connor and Rachel Brooking a few weeks back. Just really advertising how great Central Otago is, and some of those challenges that we are experiencing aren't just happening here. And finally, I ran for the community board representative on the Young Elected Members Committee. Wasn't successful, but it was still a really cool experience and learned a lot from it. So thank you to Tama and ORC Councillor Elliot Weir for that nomination. And that's me.
Thank you very much. Tony.
Yeah, ditto with Roxburgh. Yeah, I thought, I guess the more eye-watering thing was looking at Pioneer Energy and their community engagement, I guess, across all the and pioneers in spirit too. When farms up there, along with everyone else doing wind farms and stuff. So yeah, great day. A couple of promote Dunstan meetings prior to the Wine and Food Festival on Sunday, which from direct feedback from some of the wine holders went pretty well for most of them. I think they were all pretty happy. We had a modest crowd, we had a modest amount of sun, so that probably moderated some behaviours. But it was a pretty good thing.
Wonderful, thank you. Great.
And Tamer has mentioned some of our joint things that we've done in the past 6 weeks. I've also obviously been part of the Omakau show, which was actually a fabulous day until it rained, and unfortunately it didn't rain quite enough, but it just enough to be annoying. Yeah. But it was a great day and well attended for that part. Attended a Central Otago Health Incorporated meeting, so I share some of the great not some, a lot, and all of the great stuff that's going on at Dunstan Hospital. The Pukekohe Marae was fabulous again. I completely concur with Taylor's comments. But something that was really special for me was I attended the opening of the Omakau School tunnel house. Now, while that doesn't sound super exciting, it is actually a really big tunnel house, and it was a really amazing initiative set forward by some community members that have got some funding from the ministry and also from the ORC. So thank you very much to those guys for that. And they have got this tunnel house, which they are now growing natives and growing food, and it's all incorporated into the learning space. And also Paulville School has got the same thing being constructed over on their patch. So that was really special. It was great to see all the little kids on quite a cold day, but yeah, it's really good to see that incorporation of the natural environment being used in the teaching learning space. So that was fantastic.
Thank you.
Hearings panels is still busy. Plan change 19, we've completed our deliberations, and all things being equal, that will be coming to council at our April meeting for ratification. A big project. A lot of hours spent on that, and subject to appeal, it's going to have a significant impact on growth throughout the district. Blossom Festival, and my role was chucking along quite nicely. AGM is the 9th of April, 7 PM, all invited. And then last week I attended the memorial service for the late Malcolm McPherson, Mayor of this district, and that was held at Central Story, which, as we all know, Malcolm had a huge involvement over the years, and especially in the latter part of his life. He was dedicated to keeping our doors open, and it was great to see a full turnout of friends, family, and former mayors and current mayor. It was worship. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Done.
I just wanted to mention that we attended the site visit up to Molyneux Park with floor leader David Scoot, which was, I think, was invaluable for all of us. Was some members not been in the building before. I think it was with what's going on with what Molyneux studying, and there was a great site visit. Other thing is I attended the St Gerard's Sports Day, which watching 5-year-olds trying to do the high jump and long jump is quite hilarious. Also went to their rugby season started, went to the first game, which was away up to Arrowtown, but it was just the support of the community that followed our team up there was really, really good. And just with Balance Cottage, I've missed a few working bees, but it's just hard at the moment with working 7 days a week. We're just seeing record numbers in the golf course for people that are cycling and playing golf. But I did have the pleasure of meeting up with Mary Jo and Bex on Saturday night at the finery for a 5-minute catch up, so that was great. But that's me.
Thank you. Done. Roger.
Right, I attended 2 meetings of the Central Otago District Arts Trust, attended the Omakau AMP show. It was pretty about the rain, but no, I was there in the early part of the day, so I enjoyed that part. Attended a meeting of Dunstan Friendship Club, attended a public meeting on the future of the Matangi Station Mountain Bike Park. I'm not sure how that's going to pan out. Attended the AGM of the Central Otago Regional Orchestra, attended 2 meetings of Keep Alexandra Clyde Beautiful, attended 2 meetings with Alexandra District Museum Incorporated, attended the opening at Central Stories of an exhibition by Jan and Tim Hawkins. That's on Bannockburn, if you haven't seen it, it's rather interesting, a lot of reading. Attended a meeting of the Creative Writers Circle, attended a talk at the Clyde Museum on heritage aspects of the Lake Dunstan Trail. And I'm sure the new trail through the Kawerau likewise have a lot of heritage. Attended a Clyde Theatre Group production, attended an orchestra workshop, attended a memorial service for Malcolm McPherson, about 100 people
went to that and attended the opening sessions of U3A and had Peter and I've had Tamer and looking forward to on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. And I'm happy to move that those verbal reports be received. Seeing Tony, you second that. All those in favour? Against? Carries. Now move to the governance report on page 77. Which contains the minutes from the January and February meetings of Keith Alexander and Clyde Beautiful, as well as the status updates. Are there any questions or comments on those? No, in that case, I'm happy to move that the report be received, including will second that. All those in favour? Against? Carried.
Sorry, Gareth just is going to speak to it. No.
Perfect. Gareth, we have received the email. And read it. Thank you.
I thought I'd just give a quick update on stage 4 Vincent Park. And as you can see from the email, there's a bit of, I want to call it superficial work that needs to be finished in stage 4 before winter starts, which just equates to some piping and some base course for the roading. And then we'll go into seeding season in September to finish at stage 4. Now, there's a rumour going around that developers out of money. That's not the case at all. The reality of the situation is we have had absolutely no bites for sales for stage 4 at all. So that includes it's 6 big sections and then there's a whole lot of little sections. So our exposure is 0, just basically on reputation. It's the exposure sits with the developer, so his money's sitting in all the in-ground infrastructure. So to date, there's about 1.2 million for in-ground infrastructure for stage 4. And because 3910, we extended, well, we set the dates quite far out, just because we didn't understand market situations. And he's going to have to finish stage 4, so that's why we're putting the pressure on now. But as long as the board just understands that we can not see any profits until we actually start selling down the sections.
Right. Questions?
You took pricing on stage 4?
So we've set minimum prices, and if I put a commercial hat on, I'd be loath to relook at that. I think we can realise those, at least the minimum prices, and I'm hoping for a little bit above. In June, July, we're expecting that interest rates might potentially come down. And I think when that happens, the banks will start offering that incentive again and getting people excited about purchasing houses. I think the market's sitting at such that a lot of people are defaulting in their homes. So there's a lot of insecurity on the market, and the banks, I don't know if you guys have jumped on a mortgage calculator, but you know, like 8.9% for floating is bloody high, and you know, people just can't afford it. And I think the cooperative bank have now offered 7-point-something% for first-time home buyers, and you think they struggle to get their 20% deposit, and now talking about a 7% return. It's a market that's not sustainable. So I'm fingers crossed that we're going to get an interest rate reduction in the middle of this year, which is only a couple of months away, and then hopefully it'll start inciting a little bit of excitement back into the market. If you guys haven't driven through Dunstan, it is boasting some vertical constructions. People are really living in that area. It is a really nice subdivision. But we were really hoping for some sales, because effectively once we finish the subdivision, then the onus falls back onto council to maintain those subdivisions. And I put some photographs in that we experienced in stage 3, which is it's not common, but it does happen. And you know, if you don't have passive surveillance in an area, then it can be subject to vandalism and just people behaving quite badly and not treating the stuff with respect. So We're hoping to avoid that. Interest rates come down. Fingers crossed, we sell out the sections pretty quickly. And the developer is looking at different ways to market the process.
Any questions on that update? Thank you. Yes, Liz?
Very good day.
Yeah. Page 100, I think we're up to now. Are you looking at what's been done? Date of our next meeting is the end of this month, the 30th of April. We now move to resolution to exclude the public for the reasons given on page 101. Thank you very much for coming along, Ruby. Sorry, I've moved it. David seconded it. All those in favour?
Right.
Against? Carried. Oh, sorry, Ruby, before you go, there's a pool party on this afternoon at